Good morning to you all. It's Maurice Williamson, the Minister of Building and Construction, and first an apology. I'm sorry I can't be with you. I have another portfolio taken me overseas to meet with a ministerial counterpart and not currently in New Zealand. So although I had agreed to do your meeting, I now can't. So I thought I'd throw a few thoughts together on a video clip for you. And I won't be long and I won't be boring, and I've asked to say something inspirational at the end, so I'm going to try and think of something along the way. I really only wanted to cover three headings just quickly with you. Risk-based consenting, the national building consenting system that we're looking at, and building consenting authorities holding poorly performing practitioners to account. So let's kick into that. You'll be aware that we've passed several pieces of legislation along the last few years, and one of them, which we called originally the number 3 bill, had risk-based consenting enabling provisions in it, and we haven't triggered those yet because we said there were a number of prerequisites and preconditions that needed to be met. Some of those were things like having the right number of licensed practitioners out there through the Licensed Building Practitioner Scheme, but a number of others with regards to good quality knowledge base in the industry about the building code and so on. I'm quite keen to progress now triggering risk-based consenting, and so what we're doing is we're beginning a few trials. We're trialling it both in the commercial space, and in the case of Christchurch we're using some group home builders to trial it in the residential space. And that will be, in my view, an ability to reduce both the level of assessment that needs to be done and also reduce the number of inspections, because we should be able to trust people if they're at the low end of the risk curve and they're well qualified and capable people or companies that are prepared to take on that liability themselves for doing things properly. And I think it's where we will go. So officials have been now looking at if we can trial this in the group home builders in Canterbury and a couple of commercial buildings we're looking at both in Auckland and elsewhere to see if risk-based consenting can be done. Then officials are now looking at how we can migrate that out to the greater world. And I think that is a very sensible way to go. I think the level of assessments and inspection should be aligned to the risk and the complexity of the design, as well as the skills and the capabilities of the people that are doing the building work. So watch the space for us trying to push further up that curve with regards to risk-based consenting. The second thing is the National Building Consenting System, and it's a lovely big heading, but it's still only a theoretical idea with a model about where we would like to go, and now a lot of work about how we put some flesh on the bones of that system and take it into the future. So the National Building Consenting System is trying to enable a dramatic increase in efficiency and trying to get some better consistency across the whole building consent decision-making process across the nation, so we can get some absolute certainty that if you are a building operation operating outside of more than 1 BCA, you're pretty sure of getting a consistent level of approach to the problem. Now, only one part of that whole national building consent system is an online consenting system. So trying to get some form of a portal which will allow people to file documents, have them processed on that platform, have them farmed out from 1 BCA to another if they're overworked, or a BCA that would like to take some work on can. And I think so the whole preparation, lodgement and processing of the consent applications, the even electronic inspections recording. I would love to think of people doing inspections having electronic devices in their hand, such as cell phones or iPads or whatever, being able to do the inspections, take some photos that they want, press a button, all of that goes back into the portal and gets recorded as the inspection having been completed and passed or failed accordingly, and take away a lot of the paper-based systems from it. We think that an online consenting system, and there's some initial estimates of what we believe it could be, could save several $1 million a year in the industry, as well as a lot of time. So trying to get some more consistency in there, but there are a number of issues that centre all around just even the online consenting bit of a national consenting system. It's about ownership and management. Where does that lie? We don't know where that would lie. We don't know who would fund it, whether it be public, private, or a public-private partnership. And we don't know who would own it and where it would reside. So those are questions we are working with local government. MB officials are trying to get a robust, detailed business case sorted, and we're working very closely with local government representatives to develop it. So it won't be a secret, it won't be something that just comes from out of the blue, but I think will be a benefit to everybody and to those in the industry. And as I said before, the last issue I want to talk to you about is building consent authorities and holding poorly performing practitioners to account. I have to say I've heard from you, members of BOINZ, on a number of occasions that you've had documents filed with you which don't come close to meeting the building code, and then the practitioner saying, well, I know that, but you guys can sort it all out, you can fix it up and so on. Well, I think that's grossly unacceptable, and I'm sure you do as well. And so I would really like to see some better reporting. We've said that a critical element of the building regulatory system is holding practitioners to account for the quality of their work. There are some very good practitioners out there, but in the regard of building consenting authorities, I think you've got a very important role to play. That role is to complain about poorly performing practitioners, whether they be engineers, architects, licensed building practitioners, or even plumbers. That sort of reporting goes on in other industries, in the aviation industry and the medical fraternity and so on, and I would really like to think that you, if you do see someone who is poor performing, who is putting together plans or materials that you think would be unsafe or not within the building code of the day, making sure that person is brought to task. Now, part of that could be just some retraining or some getting them up to standard. It doesn't necessarily need to be disciplinary action, but in the end, if someone is designing buildings that are going to fall down, like the Southland Stadium did when it got some snow on it, or other buildings that will pancake when it gets a bit of stress on it, like the CTV building, I want those who are doing the processing of the applications and granting the consent to say this is not satisfactory. Now, I acknowledge it can be time consuming, and sometimes the outcome won't be what you want, because often when you make complaints, I can tell you around Parliament, I complain about just about everything that goes on around here but don't get it changed. So you may not get the outcomes you're after, but at least you've brought it to the attention of whoever is necessary to make sure. And I think it's an essential part of the whole licence registration practitioner regime that they need to perform, or there are consequences if they don't. And I would love to see that beefed up. So look, thanks for your time. Sorry to be boring. The inspirational thing I can only think of is go the Blues on Saturday, but then you'd expect me coming from Auckland to say that. By the time you see this, the Blues could have lost their last 5 games in a row, and I will be embarrassed by having claimed it. So enjoy the rest of your conference. Sorry I can't be with you. You do perform an incredibly important task within the whole building and construction operation. And I know that you all take it very seriously, because the vast bulk of you do it in such a professional way, and you should be proud of the way you work and operate. Thanks very much.